Hello, my name is Jordan Leroy Hansen, also known as LeDev, and we're now focusing on the last few cards spoiled before the big reveal stream on August 1st. Specifically, we're going to focus on Paladin and Hunter cards. I was going to do Warlock too, but we still haven't really seen many Warlock cards yet. We only seen about 3, so I figured it's best to focus on that class on the last spoiler review video I'm going to do right after the reveal stream. So it will help us to keep these videos a little bit shorter, especially since we do have a lot of cards to catch up with. Speaking of which, we're going to focus on another neutral legendary minion that they revealed, which is the 5-mana Subject 9. It's a 5-mana 4/4, Battle Cry, draw 5 different secrets from your deck. So, this is a legendary that specifically will work for 4 classes that have secrets, which will be Mage, Hunter, Paladin, and weirdly enough, Rogue, Danes to Kobolds, and Catacombs. I think the best class that will get used out of this spell is a 2-way tie between Hunter and Mage, believe it or not. I think Mage might like this card a lot since it is, if they build their deck accordingly, can be a really powerful card in hand Mage. Drawing 5 cards from your deck, and then having a big hand, which then helps you with the hand mana cards that we have seen from this expansion, like Astromancer and Meteors, which we're going to be talking about. This card could be the draw engine that they might need to actually help fuel that archetype with the other draw spells they have. Also, I think this will work in Hunter since it is a beast, it has synergies. Plus, Hunter has an absurd amount of secrets. Like, an absurd that all of them are relatively really powerful. And that is the one strength of this card. The fact that you're drawing so many secrets with it. And then you play those secrets. And then the opponent is confused because they're like, okay, what secret did he play? I think you can use some very manipulative mind games just by the factor of how many secrets you draw from this. Also, before we go on, there is also the potential in other classes for Storm-like synergies, like casting multiple spells and multiple secrets. For example, let's say if you made a token Paladin deck, play this card, then play Violet Teacher. Play all 5 of those spells and summon 5 random tokens. That could be really powerful. Also, maybe in Rogue, it could be used with stuff like Prep and all that stuff to cast multiple spells to help them with the big Van Cleave. I don't know if that will work, but it's a thought. Overall, a really cool legendary that they revealed. It's actually some interesting design, and I do think it has some pretty funny applications for the meta coming up. Next up is the EMP operative. Funny fact, EMP stands for Electric Magnetic Pulse, which is one of the things that is known to actually disable electronics and such. So nice flavor. And it's a 5-mana free with the battle cry, Destroy a Mech. I'm grateful that Blizzard provided us the tech card beforehand rather than waiting for the next expansion if mechs ever get absurd in this current meta. So yeah, this is mostly just a tech card. You'll use it if you need to counter any productive or very high-powered mechs in the meta, but only for that because playing a 5-mana free by itself, it feels really bad. Not much to say about this card. It's a tech card. You use it when you need to, but you're not going to feel happy if you have to play this by its stats alone. Next up is the 2-mana 1/2 Mech Galvanizer. With the battle cry, reduce the cost of mechs in your hand by 1. And oh my, that is so cute. I mean, the art on this is freaking adorable. Now, as for the card itself, there are many people that are saying that this is a slight power creep version of a Shaman class card that was a 2-mana 1/1 that reduced the cost of elementals in your hand by 1. And while I can see the argument, I don't think it's legit even with the toughness boost. And the main reason why is because with the current card pool, elemental synergies are a lot more bonkers if you reduce elementals in your hand by 1. And let's be frank, most of them wanted to do it by reducing the cost by 2, thanks to cards like Murmuring Elemental and such. And so far, we don't really have a mech variation of doubling battle cries. There's an argument that you could make a Shaman mech deck that can use Murmuring Elemental and then reduce the cost of your mechs in your hand by 2. Though I don't really see any Shaman cards that encourage Mech archetypes. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see it right off the bat. And also, I don't think, even with all the mechs that have been revealed, I don't think there's any broken combos that you can get away with if you reduce the cost of mechs in your hand by 1. Theoretically 2 if you play 2 of these, or more if you play a Shaman class with Murmuring Elemental. I think this is a relatively well-balanced card. It's fun, it's a little cute. If you're playing a Zoom mech deck, you'll probably play this card. And still, that art is so cute! Next up is the 5-mana 5/5 Seaphorium Bomber, which has the battle cry, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck, and when it's drawn, it explodes for 5 damage. Okay, now the first thought I thought of when I saw this card, it was like, oh no, not in Shadow Walk, no. And yeah, that really scared me. I was like, oh boy. But the more I thought about this card, there's actually a legitimate argument that this could actually help counter Shadow Walk decks, or even any decks that have heavy draw-based energies. Remember, we have cards in the meta that help you can shuffle extra copies. Augmented Elic, anybody? And I do think the factor that you have a delayed burn spell in a sense might be the key to help out any burn-based decks or any aggro-based decks that try to get some final damage in before the relatively big, oh, they're going to try to recover with a big killing spell or such. And I do think this is a nice secret tech card to help with that, to help keep the overall annoying combo decks that are going to happen in the meta, keep them in check. Overall, though, it'll probably make it very explosive, in fact, in the meta. See what I did there? Next up is the 6-mana 3/3 Meteorologist. It has a battle cry. For each card in your hand, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. So, if I stand correct, the battle cry kind of looks like an arcane missiles, for comparison. Now, obviously, this is very much encouraging the hand mage archetype that we've been seeing a lot of their cards trying to encourage. And this is a tempting offer, I will admit. I mean, now, remember, since you're playing this card in your hand, at most, with the exception of some very fringe circumstances, you are doing about 9 damage. And a 6-mana 3/3 that in theory can do a 9 damage arcane missile is not bad, actually. Overall, I think this card is going to be probably a really good card for hand mage, and maybe even control mage decks might use this since they also keep a large hand to help control the board state and such. The only one I'm really debating about is I don't know if Temple Mage would play this card. I mean, most of the aggro mage and temple mages, they like to play their cards out real quick. And I guess really the best question is, at what minimal damage would you want this card to be? Like, would it be a fine card if it just only dealt 3 random damage? Just a 6-mana 3/3 that's an arcane missile? That feels bad. At most, I would say you would want to at least have, if you are going to put in the Temple Mage, about 5 to 7 damage. And I feel that if Temple Mage has about 5 cards in their hand, they're playing their deck archetype wrong. Overall, though, this is a really fun card to include. It's really interesting design. It will be fascinating to see what deck archetypes in Mage, or even if a new one comes up because of this card. But hey, also that art's kind of funny to see the werewolf kind of looking at the meteor and with blasting frozen arms from what it looks like. Nevertheless, onto the next card. Next up is one of the other Omega cards, the Omega Mind. It's a Shaman, 2-mana 2/3, and has a battle cry. If you have 10 mana crystals, your spells have lifesteal this turn. Now, keep in mind, it says your spells, not spells cast by random effects, so keep that in mind. Overall, this is just the epiphany of it's a fine card. If you have to play it on 2-mana 2/3, that's just fine. I mean, there are better 2-mana drops, yes, but still, it has decent stats and it helps you keep control of the battlefield. It's legitimately fine. Now, this is fun more late game because it could offer control shaman and also maybe even some tempo-based shaman decks recovery by using their control spells / burn spells as both a recovery mechanism if they don't have their Healing Rain in hand. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those where... How to put this? It's weird that you play this, and you play Volcano, and it resets the entire board, and you gain the life, but then you lose your Mega Mind, so you lose your board presence, and then you give it back to your opponent, which then they play their minion, and then you're stuck into a same situation again. It really is going to be a weird tempo-based card when you activate the Omega mechanic on this. Overall, though, I do think this is going to be a card that sees play, especially if Shaman needs more life gain. I don't think they do, but hey, you never know how the meta's going to turn out, so we'll see. Next up is the Mage and Shaman legendary spells that I wasn't able to cover since they revealed these like late last night. So let's get to these. One of them is the Mage legendary spell that costs 7 mana. It's Luna's Pocket Galaxy. Change the cost of minions in your deck to 1 mana. Ooh. I think this is a trap card. I think this is a card that's going to be very tempting for combo players, but I think it is legitimately a trap. By the time you play this card, which in theory you're going to play this on turn 7, you've gone through, if we're being very optimistic, a third of your deck. But most mages that do have draw engines in their deck, they'll probably go by at least half of their deck. So the question you have to ask yourself is this card as effective when you know that only half, not even maybe a half, since you probably still have spells remaining in your deck, so about less than half of your minions are going to cost 1 mana? Some would argue yes. I'm going to argue no. Though, there is some funny synergies with this card. One synergy that is thought of right off the bat is if you use this for, if you have late game minions in your deck, you play Luna's Pocket Galaxy, and then you play the Witchwood Piper to actually draw one of your late game minions, and then hopefully be able to play it along with a spell to complement. That's actually a fun thought. Overall, though, if this spell is going to see play, it's either going to be in a Toolbox Mage type of style deck, which might be a new archetype thanks to Luna's Pocket Galaxy, or Control Mage might, and the keyword is might, play this, because with Elemental Mage being a Control Mage archetype, yeah, there's some elementals that if you made them 1 mana in Mage, they might be very, very, very tempted. Overall, though, this is going to be an interesting card. I don't know if it's going to make as much an impact to the meta as people perceive, but it'll be interesting to see its interaction in the meta. Oh, and one fun note, you could play this on turn 5 thanks to Primordial Glyph, so this is probably a really great Discover card. Presuming you don't have to discover a spell to control the board state, so you can actually make sure you prolong to your victory condition. Nevertheless, fun thought. Next up is the Shaman legendary spell, the Stormbringer. Now, this has a pretty interesting effect. It is transform your minions into random legendary minions. Now, coincidentally, like the Mage spell, it costs 7 mana. Also, another coincidence? I believe this is a trap card. Okay, let's talk about this. Now, the tempting thought to think of this is with many people who played Evolve Shaman in the past, that this might be a very better Evolve, especially if you can keep a consistent board state. However, people need to remember the reason why Evolve Shaman was very popular was due to the fact that they had a ridiculously powerful combo, which was the Doppelgangster Evolve combo, which, due to that combo, they could get free random 6-cost minions, and in that previous meta, 6-cost minions were very high-powered. In this, though, you would think in theory that's like, oh, a bunch of random legendary minions. I could get like a bunch of Tyrians, or if I'm in Wild, I can get a bunch of Ragnaroses. True. You could also, on the other hand, thanks to the pool of legendary minions we have in the current meta, coincidentally get a 2-mana 1/2 with Divine Shield and Lifesteal. But we'll get to that card once we talk about the Paladin cards. So, you kind of see where I'm getting at with this card. If there is a positive to this card, I do think this might be an endgame in potentially token-based Shaman decks if they need a other late-game tool if the Bloodlust strategy does not work out. Like, they have the board state, but they can't go in for lethal. Play this, get the damage in, hopefully you get a charged legendary minion, and then Whippy IA, Whippy IO, random number generator Jesus had blessed you that day. Overall, though, I do think this is more of a fun card. It's definitely going to be a fun card to discover off of Rune Spear, but I still think it's a trap, and I'm definitely going to say that with both this and the Mage. I'm going General Akabov saying, it's a trap! Now that we finally caught up with all the cards, let's actually get on to some Hunter cards that got revealed for the Boomsday project, which is the Fireworks Tech, a 2-mana 2/1 minion with a battle cry, give a friendly mech +1/+1, and if it has a death rattle, trigger it. This card is really, really powerful. I mean, don't overestimate it. It is going to be really dependent on if Death Rattle Hunter is a thing. Oh wait, coincidentally it's a thing. Also, there is a lot of powerful mechs that you don't mind triggering the Death Rattle off of. Mechanical Whelp I could think of right off the bat. And even maybe a Goblin Bomb if you want to. And getting the +1/+1 is just gravy. Now, this card was also going to be a little bit dependent on if there was going to be early game mechs, but I do think we have enough early game mechs now that I would say a fine card to play if you just need to get the stat boost. But mostly, let's be frank, you're taking advantage of the Death Rattle trigger effect, because there are some mechs with some very, very powerful Death Rattles. Overall, really good card, great rare, you'll have some fun playing this in Death Rattle Hunter. Next up is this Spider Bomb, a 3-mana 2/2 magnetic minion, so you can attach this to a mech, and has a Death Rattle, destroy a random enemy minion. This is the one that they started to show off right when they announced the Boomsday project, and having more time thinking on it, yeah, this card is still really, really powerful. I mean, it obviously synergizes with the Firework Tech, no brainer there, but the Death Rattle, the fact that we have multiple ways in Hunter to trigger off Death Rattles without killing the minion off, like Play Dead, etc., and Terrascale Stalker, this card is absurd. I mean, we now have an ability to activate Deadly Shot on a whim. That's really, really powerful in some control-based, or even Death Rattle Hunter in general. Plus, the magnetic ability is very beneficial as well, so if you already have a decent mech minion that you want to do an efficient trade, you put this Spider Bomb on the mech, do the trade, if it dies, oh hey, then you remove another significant threat, hopefully, off the board. Overall, this is a fine mech. I mean, the stats being a 2/2 is kind of eh, but let's be frank, you mostly want to take advantage of the Death Rattle because Deadly Shot can be very beneficial in some peculiar board states when you're playing Hunter. Next up is the 2-mana Hunter spell, the Cybertek chip. And it looks like Hogger is kind of getting a little bit of an upgrade there. A mechanical upgrade. And the upgrade you're giving to your minions, it turns out it's going to be a Death Rattle. Add a random mech to your hand. So I'm kind of now accidentally imagining all my minions accidentally getting a mech burst out of their chest like in the Alien. Okay, that was a little graphic, but anyway, getting on to the card itself, I think this is a fine card for Spell Hunter. Spell Hunter do need ways to have a draw engine in their archetype, and this is actually pretty efficient, and it works with how their overall curve goes. Like, they play early game spells, they maybe play a 3-mana summon a random beast, oh, then they play the Emerald Spellstone. This is going to be a great card to play after Emerald Spellstone, because then you have the minions, and if you get board wipe, oh hey, now you have mechs in your hand that you can play to keep constant board presence. Now, if there is a con to this card, it is varied. There are some really powerful mechs in this set, but there is also some mechs that are just kind of eh. Like, sure, maybe you can get a really powerful late-game mech, like Mecha Cafoon. You could also coincidentally just get, oh, I don't know, Harvest Golem. Yeah, that's a thing to consider. And also, obviously, it's safe to mention that since these minions will have Death Rattle, it does have some moderate synergy with Death Rattle Hunter, especially with spells like Play Dead, or if you put this on a Mech, Fireworks Tech, etc, etc, etc. Overall, a fine card. I think Hunter needed this, especially Spell Hunter, for the draw engine aspect of it. It'll be fun to see play with this card in the meta. Next up, it's the Legendary Scientist for Hunter. And it's explosive. It's Boommaster Flark, a 7-mana 5/5. Summon 4/02 Goblin Bombs. And for people who don't know, as mentioned in the previous review, a Goblin Bomb is a 1-mana 0/2 mech that has the Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. I think overall, this is just a fine legendary minion. Synergizes with Death Rattle Hunter, and what makes this card really powerful is that it does, overall, present the opponent a very complicated situation. They want to get rid of the 5/5, they also probably want to get rid of the board state, but they have to be very cautious how to do that, because if they decide to go with an overall big board wipe, they're getting dealt 8 damage directly in the face. And that's actually pretty powerful. That's kind of the subtle element of this. Plus, if there was a way to double the battle cry, which honestly, you can only do that in Wild at the current moment, summoning 4 more, and then what will be 2 more, well, actually, 2 more mechs, and then just have it full of bombs? That is actually a fun thought. Overall, though, this one is kind of just easy to talk about because, well, it's a very simple card. It summons some mechs, you might be able to magnetize with those mechs for trading, but overall, it's just mostly used as a tool against some certain control archetypes to be like, so, you want to remove my board? I dare you. I double dog dare you. Next up, let's talk about some of the paladin cards. Wait, I gotta take this call. Hello? Hello? Wait, what are you saying the time limit on the Deus Machina engine is running out? Look, we don't have to break the fourth wall here. If we don't have enough time to talk about the cards, we just should say we don't have enough time to talk about the cards. Okay? Okay. So, to keep this video short, I'm going to just cut the video for now. I hope you guys enjoyed what you've seen so far. Tomorrow, after the big reveal stream, I'll make a video now talking about the Paladin cards, as well as Warlock cards, and any cards that I missed. And hopefully we can finally take a look at all these cards and figure out some peculiar funny brews. If you have any suggestions or ways that I can help improve this video for you guys, just leave it into the comments. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Hope you have a lovely day. LevDev out. Okay, let's fix that Deus Machina engine before it explodes.